There are parts of the world where few of us would dare go. Where terrain is tough and temperatures unforgiving. And where mysterious myths and infamous legends still linger in the shadows. I'm Francesca Chiorando, and I'm on a mission to discover some of the most treacherous corners of the globe.
Honduras!
Yeah, sorry! Ah!
Some scary, and others dangerous.
Genuinely thought I might die.
Places where the landscape has shaped its people. Are these really some of the most challenging places on Earth?
This place hits every single one of your senses with a sledgehammer.
And what will I discover when I get there?
I don't know why, but I feel quite nervous.
Fuck the Pope, Bundy! Hooray!
Going right in the middle. There. Feels like the atmosphere could go any second.
There's an element of people who not just wouldn't like me, but actually hate me.
It's not bigotry or nothing, it's our culture, and we love it.
Belfast, a city I've heard a lot about, and somewhere I've always wanted to visit. It's a desirable and fun weekend destination, but has had a hugely problematic past. While it's hoped that the worst of the violence is behind them, there are growing tensions between the two communities, and issues are resurfacing with an increasing number of shootings and bombings.
I'm in a city with a violent and bloody history, but what I want to know is, does its present match the past?
I gain exclusive access to talk to ex-paramilitary members who tell me what motivated them to kill and how serving time changed their lives. Huge political murals decorate the city, and I discover what they mean. And I walk alongside the largest Orange Men March, a Protestant parade that has regularly ended in violence. Belfast is the capital of Northern Ireland and part of the United Kingdom. Located on the east coast of the island, it grew as a port, and it was here the infamous liner, the Titanic, was built. The conflict in Northern Ireland during the late 20th century is known as the Troubles. Over 3,600 people were killed and thousands more injured. Being here in a city that is synonymous with this fierce political conflict, I need to understand why the trouble began and who it was between. Lara White, a journalist from Belfast, is going to help me.
So it's quite confusing for outsiders. Broadly speaking, we've got two communities that have been divided for a huge number of years. You've got kind of Catholics on one side and Protestants on the other side. Protestants want Northern Ireland to be part of the UK. Catholics tend to want it to be part of Ireland. Other names that we give to the groups are unionist, nationalist, and then in the centre, another name that you'll hear when you're here is Republican and Loyalist. So we've kind of got this new terminology, which is the PUL community or the CNR community.
Now I am getting confused. Lara's told me the best way to get to understand Belfast is to take a tour with one of the local taxi drivers who know the city better than most.
So where we're going now, Francesca, we're going to head into West Belfast. Two main areas in West Belfast that we go into is the Protestant Shankill Road and the Catholic Falls Road. Two roads are parallel with each other.
Norman was born and bred in Belfast. He's been driving the city streets for 20 years and has seen it all.
Can you explain to me what the Troubles were? What happened?
It was all about discrimination. Going back into the 60s, you know, the Catholic community were a minority and they felt that they weren't being properly treated when it came to jobs and housing and representation in the government, so they wanted equal rights to Protestants. So the civil rights march has begun. Things just exploded. It was like a pressure cooker, and when it blew, and as I said, at around 68, 69, things all kicked off, and it was referred to as the Troubles.
So the Catholics felt that things weren't fair towards them?
Yeah, because they were a minority.
So they were marching in protest?
They were marching for civil rights, yeah. They wanted equal rights to the Protestant community.
And how did that turn nasty?
Well, obviously, going back then, there was a lot of unemployment. You know, people weren't working, so people were getting involved in these demonstrations, and it just all kicked off, 68, 69.
And that carried on for them?
And it carried on, you know, right through, you know, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, until the ceasefire was called in 1994.
A war broke out between the Catholics and the Protestants. There were bombings and it turned into a very divided city, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the world. The political struggle then turned into sectarian trouble.
So where we are now, this is just the lower part of the Shankill Road.
So this area is Protestant?
100%.
So Protestants are unionists?
Yeah.
So they want Northern Ireland to be part of the United Kingdom?
They want to remain part of the Union, yep, and keep the Union safe.
Is it a religious divide or a political divide?
It's a bit of both. It is politics. You know, religion here's a label. It's a badge you wear. It's not as if we're all going to church on a Sunday. It's a bit like tribalism in many ways, being part of something.
So a Protestant is a unionist. End of story.
Yeah.
And a Catholic is a Republican, so wants to be part of Ireland. Okay, I think I've got my head around that. As we're driving through this heavily Protestant area, I notice a lot of flags lining the streets.
What are they preparing for here? What are the flags, everything
This is
going
for
on?
the 12th of July celebration. It actually starts on the 11th of July. Within the Protestant areas, they'll have these big bonfires. And it's a big celebration whenever King William landed in Carrickfergus in 1690.
The Battle of the Boyne was fought in Ireland between William of Orange and James II in July 1690. William of Orange, who was a Protestant, won a crushing victory, and it's celebrated by the Protestant Orange Order every year on the 12th of July. Celebrations start the evening before with the lighting of bonfires.
And you can see here on my left-hand side, one of the bonfires. Now, that's what you call a bonfire.
You say it's a bit of a celebration, but they're burning Irish flags.
Yeah.
That's quite a strong... to burn someone's flag.
You know, flags and emblems has always been a problem. If they have bonfires in the Catholic neighbourhoods, they would set fire to the British flag.
Why is it so important for them to celebrate this?
It's part of their culture. It's something that they don't want to lose. It's been going for a long, long time. And it's not going to, they don't want it to disappear. I remember the bonfires as a young boy, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. You know, you stacked your bonfire at the bottom of your street. And it's still continuing today. My father done it, my grandfather done it.
Norman then takes me to the most volatile area of the city.
So where we're going now, Francesca? We're coming down to a peace wall, the wall that actually separates the Protestant Shankill Road from the Catholic Falls Road.
Catholics and Protestants are kept apart by a thick concrete wall that reaches 10 metres high in places.
It's a bit ironic that they're called peace walls, but they keep the peace. High fences make good neighbours.
The peace wall was built in 1969. It divides the Protestants on Shankill Road from the Catholics on the Falls Road.
These walls were actually built at the start of the Troubles as a temporary measure. But the trouble became that bad, many people actually left these areas.
Who built it?
Well, obviously it was built by the government.
Are the people on either side happy for this wall to be here?
They're happy that it is preventing trouble from taking place.
So if the wall wasn't here, do you think there would be trouble?
There would be a possibility.
This is not the only peace wall in the city. There are almost 100 walls, fences, gates and roads, forming borders between communities.
Because you do feel the more you keep communities separate, the less understanding will be between them.
Of course, it is all about education. You know, that's the problem. I mean, there's only 10% of the children throughout the whole of Northern Ireland go to integrated education, so 90% of the kids go to separate schools. You know, so it's gonna be a while before the walls do come down. Some walls have come down in Belfast, but the one that separates the two volatile areas, which is the Protestant Shankill Road and the Catholic Falls Road, it'll not come down for, who knows, it could be 20 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 30 years, we don't know.
Can you ever picture a situation where the two communities can happily coexist in Belfast?
In time, yeah. You know, it's a peace process. It's going to take time. There's a lot of trust that's needed to be built up both communities. That's going to take time. But yep, in the future, who knows? Whether it's going to be in my lifetime, I don't know.
We get back in the cab for the final part of my tour.
On my right, Francesca, this is an old Victorian prison called Crumlin Road Jail. Been closed about 13, 14 years. It's a remand prison. So before you were sentenced, you were brought there in remand. Kept there for maybe 9 months, 10 months, whatever.
This is Crumlin Road Jail. A number of political prisoners from both sides were held here during the conflict.
When you were being sentenced, the political prisoners were brought to this here courthouse, which faces the prison, which obviously is closed as well. And there's a tunnel under the ground where the prisoners were brought from the jail to the court through a tunnel rather than bringing them across the road.
The prison was known as Europe's version of Alcatraz. It released its last political prisoner in 1996.
Used to hang people in that prison. The last person to be hung in the UK was hung in Belfast in 1961. Hanging was actually still legal here until 1973.
In a short space of time, Norman has really helped me gain a better understanding, if still quite basic, of the Belfast conflicts. I'm now taking a big step into the heart of the struggles. Martin Snodden was a former member of a Unionist paramilitary squad called the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force. He rarely gives interviews, as appearing on television, he risks reprisals, and they could be vicious.
As a 16-year-old boy, I had a gun in my hand to defend my community. 16 years old, my community was under attack on a daily basis. Bombs and bullets going off. I chose to stand up for my community and its defence.
So as a child, you felt there was no other choice?
There was no choice whenever people are actually attacking you. You have to have some form of defence. And it was at that particular time, whenever I was 16, and there was no protection in the community, that I was offered the opportunity to take up the gun. And I took up the gun. It was a frightening experience, but I took up the gun. And I took up the gun not out of hatred, but out of love. Love for my family, love for my friends, love for my community. And that's what motivated me to do what I had done.
Over the next 3 years, Martin rose up the ranks of the UVF. At the age of 19, he was a gunman and was planning to attack a pub in a Catholic area of Belfast. But the bomb exploded prematurely.
Basically, my clothes were still on fire, and I made my way out through the security grill and run up the street. As I done so, the crowd from another bar close by came after me, and I got over a fence and got into what was Belfast Lock and hid in a railway station. It was a dark night. I thought nobody could see me, and all I heard was, "There's a there." And I turned around to look, and I seen the flames coming off my back, my jacket on fire. So I was like a torch that I didn't know. And the crowd caught me as I tried to get away from there, and they beat me. And they were bringing me back to a bridge to hang me. And the military police took me off the crowd, and they beat me on their Land Rover. They smashed my head on their Land Rover. Then the RUC, the local police, came on the scene, and they took me off the military police. And they took me to their police station, and I was left basically in a lump on the floor of the police station. And it was a police medical doctor that come in then and ordered them to take me to the hospital. And as they were wheeling me into the operating theatre, they were still trying to question me. But our code was to say nothing, and I chose to say nothing in response to their questions.
Martin was sentenced to life plus 18 years for the murder of Marie Doyle, who died when the bomb exploded.
I was incarcerated in Longcouch prison camp for 15 years, just over 15 years, which certainly gave me a lot of time to think about our history, about our conflict, and that awareness that, yes, we can kill each other. We proved that, but can we live in peace? And that was the challenge.
Well, that's a lot harder to live in peace than it is to kill each other.
Well, you know, we had been communicating with bombs and guns. We needed to find other ways to communicate.
Martin now runs community workshops for young Protestant and Catholic people, teaching conflict resolution. His motivation for doing this is clear.
I don't want to see anyone else having to have the experiences that I had as a teenage boy. I don't want anybody else to be using violence, and I don't want anybody else to be suffering from the use of violence. I don't want to see any more people going to the graveyards.
Thousands of lives were lost in the Troubles. Some are remembered through huge murals found throughout the city. These murals were also political statements, and Belfast has some of the most famous in Europe. Today they've become symbols depicting the region's past and also its present political and religious divisions.
After my introduction to Belfast, I've realised there's still so much more to understand about this city. The imagery in the murals that surround you indicate a sense of threat and violence. But I want to find out what the truth is.
I've met back up with Lara, who's taking me to have a chat with Ian McLaughlin, a community worker in the Protestant area of Lower Shankill.
On our right, you can see one of the very many murals we have within this community. The mural here was erected by family members in memory of a loved one who was killed in the conflict. And these murals change from family memorials to what previously used to be contentious paramilitary murals. And what we have today, we hope, is a series of murals which better explain the views, the thoughts, and the message that this community wishes to portray.
Is that the purpose of them then, to portray the thinking of the community, the feeling of the community, or is there another reason for them?
Today, it's important that this community is able to have their message heard.
Lara notices a mural that appears to show a positive change here in Belfast.
So Ian, this mural looks different, certainly a lot less threatening than the others.
This is one of the most recent murals we've done. It signifies the women's voices in our community. I suppose for many years here, women's voices were very often unheard or sometimes ignored. And our women's group decided that they wanted their voices heard, and they wanted to tell people what they talk about, what their hopes and aspirations are for the future.
So they're quite positive messages that you're hoping to put across?
Absolutely.
And I can see that. What I'm struggling with now is how the huge bonfires that celebrate the Battle of the Boyne can convey the same positivity. Surely it's just a kick in the teeth to the Catholics.
Do you not feel, though, that perhaps the bonfires are coming from quite a negative place and they have quite negative feelings associated with them, as opposed to the murals, which are trying to portray quite a positive message?
The original bonfires were known as beacons, and it goes back to, the late 1600s. The beacons were used to light the way for the Williamite army and when they were going to fight at the Battle of Boyne. So in celebration of all those events, the bonfires would have been a series of many small bonfires through our community.
The hundreds of small bonfires scattered across the Protestant community have been replaced over recent years with fewer but much bigger beacons.
This is the site of what's going to be one of the biggest bonfires for the celebrations. And despite the filthy weather, the build still goes on.
The main builders of the bonfire are all under the age of 18.
Thank you.
How long does this take?
Well, it takes us about 3 weeks to get that bit far. Really? Yeah.
It's a big job,
It's taken 3 weeks to get the bonfire to this stage. With just 24 hours left until the bonfire is lit, there's still a lot to do.
They are heavy. They're heavier than they look. Why do you do this? Why do you build the bonfire and why do you take part?
Like, it's to remember, like, the Battle of the Boyne.
Do you think the bonfire is good for the community?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Like, it just brings everyone together.
Would you say this is the biggest event of the year for you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
Big for Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah.
What normally happens on the day that you light the bonfire? Do you have a routine? Do you have a party before?
Yeah.
What happens?
There's like a party, the whole street has a party, everyone comes in, about over 1,000 people, and like, then it comes to 12 o'clock at night, and we light the bonfire.
You light it at 12?
And we'll have
Yeah.
like a wee band that goes around, comes around helping me.
Are any of you guys in bands?
No.
What do you do?
The symbols.
Symbols, nice.
They're just your average teenage boys who just happen to be Protestants.
Do you have friends on the other side of the peace wall?
Yeah, I do. I have
You
a
do?
couple. Like, we're Protestants and they're Catholic, and we just try to, like, cross community to get to know them. Like, and now we go to our youth clubs to, like, get to know women.
So you guys just hang out together regardless?
No, not all the time, in case, like, you can't really go in case, like, you would get bait. If you know you're a
on the other
Protestant,
side.
we're coming more together, but I'll never be the same.
Do you think
We'll
it's
always
good though?
fight.
You think there won't be a time when everyone's just okay? You don't?
No, I don't.
You don't? It's all down to individuals, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's good and bad on each side.
Yeah. And are your schools all separate?
Yeah, I'm in a Protestant school.
Yeah.
So man.
And they would be on, like, they'd be in Catholic schools.
Do you think there is a difference between you guys, or it's just the wall that's dividing it?
The wall.
Just the wall.
Did you get to know them and then they start? They end up their mates.
We're all the
It's just
same.
like you, aren't they? Yeah.
We're all the same. We are all the same.
Should we go back to work?
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
I came down here to help with the build, and you know, it's pretty messy and it's pretty chaotic. And whilst I expected a fair amount of banter, what I didn't expect was to meet these kids who are so intelligent, so well informed, and so switched on, and actually without an ounce of prejudice. And that really amazed me.
I've had a fascinating and eye-opening day today, but it's mainly been from a Protestant unionist point of view. So tomorrow I have to fix that and talk to someone from a Catholic Republican perspective. Belfast is steeped in boxing history. 3 Olympic gold medals have been won by boxers from this city. However, there's more to this sport than winning. Boxing clubs are one of the very few places where you'll find Catholics and Protestants side by side. I've come to a club in a Catholic area of West Belfast.
OK, seconds out, round 1.
Michael Hawkins is head coach of Holy Trinity Boxing Club.
Michael, how long has this gym been open?
Through 1972, so it's 44 years.
What do you think it means to the community?
Well, I think it's been invaluable, really, especially at the beginning. The Troubles were at their height, 1975, 72, 73, 74, 75, and they were really, really bad. So it was it was the only thing that was up and running in our estate at that time.
Very often people say that when there's something for young people to focus their attentions on, it keeps them out of trouble. Boxing especially requires a lot of discipline and focus. Do you think this gym has helped a lot of young people stay out of trouble they could have fallen into?
Yeah, well, we've never professed to be youth workers or social workers or whatever. We want success, we want champions, but at the same time, there's no doubt about it, it has helped a lot of lads over the years.
Sean McComb is Irish League champion.
Sean, hi.
Francesca, hi.
What got you into boxing? What brought you down here?
My 2 brothers boxed. They're past Irish champions. I thought to myself, may as well jump on the bandwagon, try and win an Irish title myself, and that I did. 7 Irish titles later, here I am.
7 Irish titles you have, so you realised pretty quickly you were good at it.
Yeah, well, I adopted at a young age just from watching the brothers and being here every day, so.
Can you picture how different your life would be if you hadn't found boxing?
Yeah. I run around with a bad crowd, like some of my friends are in jail. I know what sort of path I could have went down maybe, because like I say, there's not a lot of opportunities in areas like this other than boxing clubs, football clubs.
And what are your hopes for the future?
Well, one main hope I always have is an Olympic champion. That's one of the main goals. I think that's one of the main goals for every athlete, so hopefully that can come off.
The name of the club is Holy Trinity, which is obviously a religious name. So do you cater to one of the 2 sides of the community?
It's 100% Catholic, so yeah, that's why it's Holy Trinity, and you know, we're proud of that. But at the same time, 2 of the girls are from the other community, from the Protestant community, but we work very closely on a cross-community basis.
Do you feel it's beneficial for young people to be in a mixed faith environment?
Oh, without a doubt, you know. There are some of our kids who would never have met Protestants and vice versa, you know, so it's very beneficial that you know, both sides meet when they're younger. There you go.
I've done a bit of boxing in the past, so I quite fancy having a go. Maybe they'll spot my potential.
Okay, ready, girls? Box. After. That's fine. 15 seconds.
She's fast.
For the first time since I arrived in Belfast, I actually feel a sense of hope for this city. Hope for a truly peaceful future. However, it will only happen through this generation, as the older population are permanently scarred by this city's violent past. One that Jim Donnelly knows too well, as he grew up amidst the warring religions and is a former Republican prisoner.
I grew up in an area which was heavily affected by it. We witnessed people being killed, we witnessed explosions, we lived in a war zone.
What effect did having all of this going on around you have on a teenage boy or a young man?
I was angry. I was angry to the point where at a later age in my teens, I became involved in the conflict. I was arrested in East Belfast, and I was charged with attempted murder of an RUC man and possession of explosives with intent to endanger life and conspiracy to cause an explosion. So I had 3 charges. I was arrested at a policeman's home in the Castlereagh area of East Belfast, and while a bomb was being placed under his car, I ended up in prison. I was 22, I was arrested, went to prison and was sentenced to 22 years.
How did you become involved in the conflict?
Well, it began as a teenager when there was riots on the streets and there was conflict. You were involved in stuff like that.
Jim was fighting for his community, a community that he believed was being discriminated against purely because of their religion.
You can tell a Catholic or a Protestant by what school they go to.
So do you feel now things have changed slightly?
I think that the structure of the state has been changed. I think there's more work needs to be done. But I think we're now in a position where our young people don't have the same anger that I had growing up, that I had, you know, they're not seeing the same things that I seen.
Do members of your community still find the Orange Order and the parades offensive?
Extremely. As a Republican, as a Catholic, you know, what the Orange Order means to me is it's the last thing, or it's the last remaining factor of the Protestant state for the Protestant people.
Does it not seem totally baffling, though, that something that happened in the 17th century is still affecting life today?
I've lived here all my life, and I don't understand it. And I understand that people want to commemorate, I understand that people have traditions, I understand all of that. But why do you have to make it offensive to other people, is what I can't understand.
I'm sensing there's still a lot of resentment from the Catholics towards the Protestants when it comes to the Orange parades. And it's at these marches tensions between the two groups reach a peak and rioting often breaks out. Tomorrow is the 12th of July and the biggest Orangeman March of the year in Belfast. Hundreds of armed police will line the streets to hopefully keep the peace between the marching Protestants and the affronted Catholics. I've been allowed to ride in one of the police armoured vehicles that routinely patrol the Belfast streets.
Not quite sure whether to be nervous or whether to be excited, but I'm heading out now with the Belfast police force on patrol around the city. This is some serious kit, even getting the door open.
We can't identify the officer I'm riding with, as we could put his life at risk.
What's it like for you doing this job? How does it affect you personally or socially?
It's different, yeah, I'll give you that. Can't really socialise the same. It's not good to be known as a policeman outside of work. It's not safe.
I've been quite surprised to see that all officers appear to be armed. That's not something that I'm used to.
Yeah, we're an armed police force. Everyone's wearing effectively military-grade ballistic armour. That's not even stab vest, it's big armoured plates in it.
What was this?
It's a big grill in the front.
Oh!
It's got bomb shields underneath, blast guards. It's got extinguishers on the outside as well. Vehicles are for police security and protection of ourselves. If we didn't have the vehicles, we couldn't do half the jobs, couldn't go into certain situations.
We drive down the Crumlin Road. This is the area where there's been the most trouble between the Catholic Republicans and the Protestant Unionists, purely because it's sparsely populated, but where the two warring parties live right next door to each other. Eventually we end up at Tordell Avenue. This is where the Unionists have been staging a permanent protest since 2012.
How do the people who protest here receive you?
They're okay. They're not our friends.
This is where I get out, as I want to know more about the protest by the Protestants.
I'm not sure if there's a heavier police presence tonight because tomorrow's the 12th, which is when the marches happen. But there is a very heavy police presence.
This is the site of the Protestant Loyalist protest camp. They're here 24 hours a day in support of the Orange Order. They're barred by the Parades Commission, who are in charge of all marches in this city, from marching down through the Ardoyne. They believe if the march did go into the Catholic area, violence would erupt. In the past 3 years, there have been violent clashes between Unionists and police who are there to maintain the blockade. It's estimated to have cost more than 90 million euros in policing.
This area is known as the Ardoyne shopfronts, and this protest is exactly what the peace camp was set up to support. This protest happens 6 days a week and has been happening for 4 years, every week, since July 12th, 2012.
The Good Friday Peace Agreement was signed 18 years ago, but it seems to me there's still a long way to go before the sectarian violence stops altogether. This makes me wonder if celebrations like the Protestants' July the 12th parade only fuels the divide. I passed by Bombay Street, a staunchly Republican area that on the 15th of August 1969 was firebombed by a Unionist mob. These Catholic homes back directly onto the proud Protestant area of Lower Shankill. Huge steel barriers and barbed wire separate the two religions. And it's literally just a few meters away from here, in the Republican area, that I can hear the start of the Protestant July the 12th celebrations. I make my way to the site of the main bonfire and discover hundreds of people from the community have already gathered. Informally dressed bands are playing and spirits are high.
The belief of everyone here, what they are marching for, what they stand for. Just even the music, the way it pounds in your chest.
The Orangemen bands are usually named after a particular Protestant area, such as the Shankill Road. I appear to have been embraced by this tight-knit community, as they're letting me have a go on a drum.
Ah! Wow! Oh!
It's so heavy, I need help holding it. I'm exhausted.
That was amazing. It was amazing that they invited me to do that. You can feel the pride of everyone. It's intense, but it's not negative. It's a celebration.
All of a sudden, I sense a change in the atmosphere.
So it's midnight and everyone's being pushed back because the bonfire's been lit symbolically. The first part that's lit is on an Irish flag. And whilst before it felt quite jovial and a celebration, things feel a little bit more different now and a bit more intense. The fire's doused in petrol. There are helicopters going over to head. Everyone is shouting and chanting and push back, go back. We're actually fenced in here. I don't know why, but I feel quite nervous. And the bonfire is going to catch any second, but it also feels like the atmosphere could go any second as well.
As the bonfire builds in intensity, the crowd seem to increase in noise and tension. The passion for this burns brightly for young and old, and to me, that means this Protestant tradition will be hard to ever extinguish. The party looks set to continue well into the night.
People's attitudes are starting to change. When I was in the parade, I felt really emotional, and when I was... People are just starting to get riled up for tomorrow. Rather than being welcoming, they're now starting to be aggressive. And you can see where the troubles begin.
Surely it's this kind of hatred, vented at the Catholics from the Protestants, which stokes the conflict. I have to take myself quite a distance away from the revellers before I feel safe enough to voice my thoughts about today.
So tonight's the big night before the parades tomorrow. I met some of the kids and helped them build the bonfire, and then we lit it. It all started with the band, and whilst the mood was quite celebratory, it felt like it could quite quickly turn, and emotions were quite high. So it will be very interesting to see what's going to happen tomorrow.
It's the morning after the Protestant celebrations. Just a few hours ago, hundreds of people partied around the huge bonfire. It now looks like a war zone. The streets will soon burst back to life when the Orange Men march through the city. The July the 12th march is the biggest of the year, with 80 bands banging their drums along the route through Belfast. Thousands of unionists line the main roads to watch the march. It's a tense time, as some view the march as sectarian, fueling the divide between the Republicans and the Unionists. Belfast City Police Commissioner Chris Noble explains how the city is made up by the Catholics and Protestants.
Could you explain to me how the city is divided in terms of the residents of the two communities?
OK, we'll start in the east of the city, in East Belfast. You've got a mainly Protestant community, and as you move closer in towards the city centre, you'll see a couple of points of green in the map which indicate Catholic communities. And as we go into West Belfast, you'll see more green in the map, so therefore it's a predominantly Catholic area.
The Orangeman March starts off on Crumlin Road, a staunchly Protestant area. It then weaves through the city for 10 kilometres, skimming past many Catholic areas.
Chris, what kind of preparations do you have to make for the big orange parades?
You get into the detail of preparing the vehicles, of making sure that the plans around each of the tense points are well organised. Everyone's got the equipment that they need. People are going to be fed on the day and well looked after. So all that logistical work really starts to be probably 3 months or so before the actual main day itself.
What are the biggest challenges you face on the day?
The biggest challenges are, first of all, just getting people out on the ground, the logistics, getting people in the right place at the right time. We've got potentially thousands of officers being deployed on that one day. So there's just getting them out there in the right place and well briefed so they know exactly what they're doing. The second big challenge for us then is about trying to manage risks around disorder and community tension and making sure that we try and intervene early to avoid dealing with something more significant later on. And the third big challenge for us then is around security. We've still got a challenging environment in Northern Ireland. There's a severe threat against police officers. We've got a small but quite focused group of individuals looking to kill police officers on or off duty. So whenever I'm deploying my officers out, I've got to have as much regard for their safety as I do for the public.
Paramilitaries are actively trying to kill police officers. This must make Belfast a truly dangerous place to be. I've never seen a police presence like this. Hundreds of armed officers and armoured vehicles. You definitely get the sense that they mean business, and for me, it's hugely intimidating. For the Orange Order and the thousands taking part in this parade, this is normal. Whilst they make their final preparations, I take the chance to have a word with Gary. He plays the drums for the Pride of Ardoyne Band.
When you are marching, when the band is all together, you're in a uniform, the big drum is pounding. What do you feel?
It's hard to describe because you're in the middle of the band, you don't really see what goes on around the band. You can hear obviously crowds cheering and stuff like that, but it's a different atmosphere in the band because you're playing, you're kind of occupied on the playing, but it's quite. You feel proud when the crowds are cheering and stuff.
So when you're marching with the band, you feel a really good sense of pride?
Yes, you pride in it. I think everybody in the band's proud to wear a uniform. We've had members killed and we wear them on our backs as well. So we've had a member die this year as well out of the band. So we're wearing armbands for him today. So it's quite a lot of occasions into one, if you know what I mean. So it's the day to celebrate.
For me, as an outsider, bomb scares, terrorists, potential rioting make me realise this city is still a really dangerous place.
We're preparing for the march. Last night was the bonfires and everyone's still in a really celebratory mood. But just this morning in the city, there's already been 2 bomb scares and the city centre is shut down. And whilst these guys say it's nothing to worry about, it's nothing unusual, it just reminds you it's a constant threat in the city, and on a day like today especially, it just puts you on edge.
At 10 a.m. on the dot, the march sets off. A phenomenal sound now fills the street. It's really powerful. I can hardly hear myself speak. The smartly dressed bands display banners and carry flags associated with unionism, and in some cases, paramilitary groups. They're amongst the ones in the black sunglasses and are allegedly connected with targeted violence. What kind of place is this where bands linked to paramilitaries parade openly on the street?
What's quite strange is there are quite a few members of the paramilitary in this band.
Or at least some members have been reportedly linked to paramilitaries, but many won't agree to have their faces shown.
So openly marching in defiance against the police.
It's a day of amnesty to the Orange Order and their supporters, many of whom are linked to paramilitaries. This is more as an act of peacekeeping rather than an act of tolerance. The parade then passes a Catholic church and something strange happens.
So you could reference that and say...
At this point in the parade, they're only allowed to march with a single drum beat. It's because we're about to pass the Catholic chapel. This is enforced from the parade to show respect to the Catholics, but it actually causes a lot of contention within the march.
The bands are soon back to full volume as we approach the city centre. Protestants flood the streets as Catholics make their own protest against the parade by leaving the city for the weekend. So far, it's passed off peacefully, but then suddenly myself and the camera crew are told to leave the main road.
We gotta go.
I'm not sure what's going on, but we've been instructed to keep our distance from the march.
That's the first part of the march over, and everything seemed to go really well, but it still remains to be seen what's going to happen tonight when they try and do the return journey, which is the bone of contention, really, in this whole parade.
The return journey takes the parade up towards Tweddell Avenue and one of the most volatile areas for Catholic and Protestant hostility. Trouble has broken out here regularly in the past. The march appears to be heading up that way and with renewed energy. I go with them, nerves building inside me as the Protestants make their way closer to their enemy's territory. Suddenly, there seems to be a deployment of police away from here and in the direction of the Ardoyne. I meet up with Lara, who is back with the crew. I hope she can shed some light on what's going on. Is trouble brewing?
So the situation with the marchers is progressing quite quickly. All of these riot police here, and there's car after car after car with guns in riot gear. Who are they protecting and from who?
Well, what they're doing is they're separating the bands that would come up and the protesters over in the Ardoyne shops. The protesters at the other side are being absolutely surrounded by police, so I don't think they have a line where they're not allowed to cross either. They're basically separating the crowd, so there's no riot.
This is where the parade has to finish. They're not allowed past this point. And they have 10 minutes to get here. So, if they don't get here by 8:30, what do they do? Who's going to stop them? At what point do they get stopped?
It's going to be very difficult for them to get here by 8:30.
Will any bands make it?
How long have we got?
We have 9 minutes.
I notice some orange men leaving, and Lara tells me she has some news.
There's been a deal made between the communities minister to fund bands, and I think it's £200,000 funding they're going to give them, basically in return for not rioting. But them not being here now means that there's going to be no violence, so
that's good.
That's good.
So the march has ended, just before it reaches here. And to me, it sounds like the bands have basically been bribed with money not to riot.
The wounds of this city run so deep, and despite best intentions by some, they've not yet healed.
I've had the privilege of being given a snapshot of life from both sides of the divide here in Belfast. And from what I've seen, religious sectarianism controlled this city for over a century, and it's a conflict I can't see ending anytime soon. However,
standing on the barricades the other night, waiting for a potential riot to happen, when everything was peaceful, it gave me such a sense of hope for the future of this city.